Welcome, everybody. I feel like Mr. Rogers putting on my sweater for you guys. Hope everybody's doing fine. John Arvos is here, not in Washington, D.C., but in Chicago for the next month. I'm going to welcome the TikTokers here as well. As always, if you guys would introduce where you are from, that would be nice. Oops, let me get my TikTok video. Oops, a little more light here would be nice on TikTok. There we go. Live, be free. All right, boom, boom. There we go. We are live on TikTok momentarily. Woo! Hey, everybody. All right, let's see who's the first on TikTok, since I always enjoy doing that. Who's first on TikTok? Who's first on TikTok? Ooh, AP01001. I think you're the first person on TikTok. Amanda Bear, you were beaten by a few other people. Ooh, hey guys. Oh my gosh, Friday. Tired. Ooh, gonna try not to yawn at everybody. Oh, welcome. We always like to start the show by having folks just say where you're from for about the first 4 minutes. It lets people slowly drift in from TikTok and YouTube. And there's also a couple Facebook and Twitter people. So say, hey folks, Sweden. Oh, Nicolina, good to see you again. I'll put on my glasses so I can always see you TikTokers a little better this way. What else we got? Tulsa, Oklahoma. My mic? I took my mic off. You're right. The funny thing about my TikTok mic is it was on, and at the last minute I didn't like my fleece, and I said, I'm putting the sweater on. I'm more comfortable with my sweater. So of course the mic was dangling again. Someday I'll remember my TikTok mic. Hi, so goofy. I know. I'll remember my TikTok mic someday. Arizona. Oh, is John D's here again? Good. We've got our Ukrainians again. Remember, folks, when we have our Ukrainians visit, we shower sunflowers, rain sunflowers. And the same thing if the Russian trolls come. We give them lots of sunflowers too, but for different reasons than the Ukrainians. We're not going to say the reason because I don't want to get kicked off of TikTok. There you go, Grandma. That's exactly what we like. Exactly. John D., you're getting lots of sunflowers on TikTok, just so you know. Mom is good. We're preparing to do our baking tomorrow for Greek Easter. Hey, England. Welcome, everybody. We take a couple minutes at the beginning just to have folks introduce themselves. So usually at 5 after the hour, we begin. But yeah, Mom did a little shopping today. We did some yesterday. We could not find lamb. Lamb has been sold out. Apparently, yeah, I see Mina from Auckland, New Zealand. We could use your help, Mina. Chris and Ted, thank you for that. That is very sweet. But yeah, we have lamb for Easter, being Greek Orthodox. And, excuse me. The Costco was sold out. Pete's, this market we like to go to, had some, but it was ridiculously expensive and it was a bad cut. Mom didn't like the portion of the leg, blah, blah, blah. So we're not having lamb this Easter, which is a big deal for us. So I don't know if we've got any Easter recipes. Usually we make, lamb. Actually, I am going to make pasticcio, which is my usual thing. I'm going to bake tomorrow. Yep, Tiffany. I'm going to make pasticcio, and my nephew likes to make spanakopita, just spinach and feta with phyllo dough, which is always very good. He makes a very rich version. Thank you, official, for that. He makes a very rich version. I live in D.C., but I'm in the Chicago area visiting Mom now. She's gone to Aldi before for stuff. I have to mention that to her. That's funny. I'll mention that because she's definitely gone to Aldi for other things, but I don't know if she's ever gone there for lamb. She likes pizza, of course, and Costco's great, but Costco literally was sold out. Hey, guys, we're going to do another 2 minutes introduction here. Just waiting for folks to come on. Actually, TikTok, we got a pretty good crowd already for a Friday. Often Fridays get kind of, maybe because it's rain. I don't know. It's rainy here in Chicago. I don't know what it is the rest of the country. Thank you for the flowers again, Official Savage. Another minute, and then we'll start. Just having folks introduce yourselves, say where you're from. But yes, it's Orthodox Easter this weekend, so we are going to be cooking, and that means Sunday, probably not doing a show. Who knows? Maybe there's going to be an impromptu one Sunday night. I can't promise, but we'll be at my sister's for the afternoon, and honestly, we're usually there for like 5 hours, so by the time I come home, not only am I not going to be in the mood for a show, but I'm probably not going to be up on much unless I'm being really geeky, checking my phone during Easter at my sister's and trying to see what's on with Russia. But I may not be much help to you guys other than generic questions. I wouldn't have really the latest news. So, all right, another couple seconds, guys, and then we're going to start. Good TikTok turnout today, actually. Interesting. YouTube's a little down, which is typical. Now, TikTok, I will say, TikTok, I never know if the turnout is better because I've done some really good posts yesterday and I ticked off all the Russians. So they've sicked the extra people after me. Never know. Well, we got a lot of news today. I'm going to jump right in. A lot of news today, actually. I may even try to winnow it down as we go through because I don't want to talk your heads off. I prefer the Q&A, although it's a lot of interesting news. Thank you for that. I always say as we go through, I'll do 20, 25 minutes of background. That's what I always do, what the news is of the day, telling you the stories I think matter. So I'm not going to hit everything, just the ones I think are important and why I think they're important. Or, I mean, some of them on its face, new weapon shipments that I think are particularly good that are coming in, good news. And then we will do the Q&A period. When we get to the Q&A, you TikTokers submit your question via the Q&A button on the bottom of the screen, a little to the right. You're going to see a button that says Q&A. That's where you submit your question. That way it lists them all for me nicely so I can get to them easily. On YouTube, you've got the comments box on the bottom. And as I always say, if you want to support my work, because I'm doing this full time now, for the time being, I'm going to do this full time. If I can pull it off, pay my bills, and help Ukraine at the same time, fabulous. So if you can and you want to help me out, on YouTube, you can buy a super chat question, and I will, as thank you, because you have to pay for it. YouTube gets some, and I get a good amount. I will do your question first. And on TikTok, there's no way to do super chats, but I still thank you. And when you buy those fun little thanks for the hair, when you buy those fun little things, I do try to call you out for them when I see them. So, and I've got right here the two of you. I've got YouTube below, TikTok here. So usually I'm pretty good. All right, guys, let's delve right in. Oh, and do like and follow, please, because that stuff is always really helpful. I had Portillo's this afternoon for lunch even. I had a Portillo's burger, Slava Ukraini. Yes, I had a Portillo's burger and a cake shake. So, yes, I did, if you can see it on me. All right, guys, let's jump right in. A lot of news today. So, fighting continues in the east. As you know, the area the Russians are trying to take over. They want to annex it, make it part of Russia. But according to the New York Times and all the other papers, Russia has not made any significant territorial gains in the last day. Ukrainians acknowledge that Russia has taken control of some 42 small towns and villages in recent days. But again, they're small towns. Russia has so far failed to make any major territorial gains in its renewed offensive, according to Ukrainian and Western officials. So that means, yeah, Russia's been able to grab a couple little villages and stuff, but nothing that matters. So that's good news. British intelligence. Yeah, I've got the British intelligence update, which is very interesting. British intelligence, defense intelligence, has been tweeting their updates. And it's been really interesting. They're using Twitter to put it out there, but it's actually been quite good. They made 3 points today. The first, I didn't think was very relevant. The second, in eastern Donbass, which is the eastern Ukraine, right, the region they're fighting over, shelling and fighting continues as Russia seeks to advance further towards settlements, and it lists a number of settlements. So the fight is continuing. Despite Russia's renewed focus, this is British intelligence, despite Russia's renewed focus, they are still suffering from losses sustained earlier in the conflict. In other words, the losses they had when they were fighting in Kyiv. Remember, they tried to get the capital and the Ukrainians beat them back. They're still suffering from that, which is good. In order to try and reconstitute their depleted forces, they have resorted to transiting inoperable equipment back to Russia for repair. In other words, they're so low on equipment that they've had to take their equipment that doesn't work and they're shipping it. It's like Santa's workshop. They're still shipping it back to Russia, having it fixed, and then shipped back to them. Like, that's how desperate they are for equipment. So again, good news on that front. The other thing I'll mention, it was going to come up later, but I'll mention it since it's relevant here. The other interesting thing I read today was that because, and actually we talked about this before, I think we had sort of surmised it was the case, but it actually is the case, because the Russians are under such a tight deadline to, win this by May 9th, which is the anniversary, thank you for the sunflower, which is the anniversary of, the Russian victory over the Nazis in World War II. Putin's really put pressure on them to get big gains by them. So it looks like the Russians in eastern Ukraine started fighting too quickly. They didn't have all of the men they needed. There's not enough men, and the men they've got there, a lot of them, as we've said before, were fighting in Kyiv in the north. They needed weeks to recover, if at all. I mean, some of these guys, forget the ones that are injured or dead, but even the ones that aren't injured but are just, they've been through a month of hell, they need more than just a couple of weeks. They haven't given them any time to rest, basically. They took these guys, they shipped them over to the east, and now they're fighting. That's going to make their fighting ability a lot less than it could have been. Yet another reason why this rush to war for Putin's fake little deadline is going to hurt the Russians and, again, help the Ukrainians. There was, what have I got here? Yep, didn't take the necessary pause. Oh, a couple other things the New York Times was saying. The soft, muddy ground. Remember how we were talking about Ukraine entering the rainy season and how the ground's going to be wet and how it'll affect the fighting? Well, the soft, muddy ground is going to force tanks in the east onto open roads. Tanks apparently don't do well in mud. So they're going to have to be on the open roads. What happens when tanks are on open roads? you can see them fabulously with drones, and you can attack them, whether with the drones, whether with artillery, whether with planes, whatever. So thank you for those. I always forget my little classes. Thanks, guys. So that's good news. And the last little point on this, which I thought was hilarious. U.S. experts were saying that they were trying to figure out. Remember, we were talking about how we were trying to figure out why Russia's military is so bad and nobody in the West knew. Well, apparently, Russian military exercises that we all observed, and when we observed them, our governments, we said, "Wow, this Russian army, they're really good at these military exercises. They really know what they're doing." Well, apparently, the exercises were fake. They had scripted. Exercises are literally exercises. It's practice. It's for them to, put on a show maybe, but also you're literally practicing a real maneuvers and stuff. Well, the Russians had apparently choreographed their military. This was by one of the U.S. experts, had choreographed their military maneuvers. So they were putting on a show for Western intelligence. So we watched it and we said, wow, they did everything right. They only did everything right because it was literally like a play that they practiced. It was choreographed. These guys are so they used not only that, but they used their military maneuvers, which is a chance for them to learn how to do this stuff better. They used it just to fake us and not to. I mean, it's like some stupid kid in school or something. Anyway, they blow my mind, but it's great news. My friend Vlad, who I've mentioned to you guys before, he's done a lot of the fundraising with us. A friend in Ukraine, from Kharkiv, the town in the northeast, second largest town in Ukraine, 1.5 million people. Vlad is now in the southwestern Ukraine with his family. Vlad said that people he knows in Kharkiv are getting basically knocks on the door from the government and telling them, Ukraine military, you've got to evacuate in 5 minutes. And if you don't evacuate in 5 minutes, they're literally dragging you out of there. I asked Vlad what was going on. I said, wait, this is Ukraine. This isn't Russia. This is Ukrainians saying you got to leave. He said, yeah, Ukrainians. What I said to him, and he agreed, I said, it sounds like they're concerned that the Russians may be trying to do a push into Kharkiv itself, into the second largest city. And he said, yeah, I agree. So just keep an eye on that. I will say it's potentially really stupid of the Russians to do that. Again, they're trying to win these victories for Putin when, nice gloves on TikTok daily, thank you. They're trying to win these victories for Putin but they're trying to win too many victories, right? Now they might be going after Kharkiv. They're also coming in from the northeast. They're also coming from the east. They're also coming up from the southeast where they've still got some troops. I heard today 12,000 troops that they've still got engaged in Mariupol, even though, remember, they claimed that they were just giving up on Mariupol. Remember, we won, Putin said. Well, they've still got 12,000 troops down there. And now a general says they may even go for Odessa as well in the southwest. Like if you look along the coast, very on the western part of the Ukrainian coast. Thank you for the bird smiling. Appreciate that. Look on the coast and you'll see Odessa. Well, if they go after Odessa, that's going to be like a fifth or sixth front. It's insane. It's absolutely insane. The idea is, you don't have to be a military planner for this. If you're not doing one thing well, don't come up with 4 other things to do simultaneously, right? It's going to cost you the same, because you've only got so much time, so much money, so much manpower, whether it's your hours or your staff. If you spread it amongst 5 things, you're probably going to do 5 things badly instead of the one thing you're already doing badly. Again, great news for us. Thank you for the sunflowers on TikTok. Great news for us, but very interesting. So speaking of Kharkiv, as I've told you guys, we've got our new fundraiser up. We've already raised $3,000. Thank you for all of you. TikTok and YouTube mostly, I'm guessing. Maybe a little YouTube. Maybe a little Meta Facebook. But we're raising money to buy 2 used cars. We're going to fill them with groceries. I should say we. The Ukrainians are going to fill them with groceries, drive them cross country to Kharkiv, the town that's really under attack now. I mean, bombing residential areas. It's actually getting very scary looking at the videos. It's looking like he's going there in terms of wanting to destroy the entire city. But we're filled with groceries, drop the groceries in town, and then lend the cars to the food groups, the food organizations that are driving around town giving out food. I've already posted some videos. There's one video of them literally setting up a little mini soup kitchen in the subway because people are in the subways to stop themselves from being bombed. So they're giving out soup at the subways. They're driving to the elderly's homes because a lot of the old people can't get out of their homes, wheelchairs and stuff. Anyway, we're trying to raise $10,000 to do this. It's a little crazy, but I think it's it's $10,000 to get the cars and the food and then give them to the food organizations. But I think it's a neat idea. If you guys can help it, appreciate it. We're up to 3,000. Easy way to donate on TikTok is go to my profile, look at the beacons link, click there, and the top 2 things tell you how to donate. The first one is directly to Vlad on PayPal. The second one, if you don't like PayPal, with the second one, you can just use your credit card. Even though it's going to say PayPal, The top one's going to say pay by PayPal. The bottom one's going to say, once you click through, is going to say use a credit card. So very simple. If you can help. TikTok, I'm just going to assume exactly Be Kind is putting it, or YouTube is putting it up there. Thanks, guys. All right. Oh, and we don't take any of the money. 100% is going to the Ukrainians. The way you guys support me is giving me the fun little stuff on TikTok, or you guys doing super chat questions or super, what do we call them? Super whatever the heck they are, super stickers on YouTube. So I didn't want it to be anything with the money because it's just too weird having the money come to me and me taking a cut. So we're not doing that, just so you know. 100% of that money is going to Ukraine. All right. More news. Oh, this is interesting. So the Moskva, you know how the Ukrainians shot down, and we got lots of sunflowers happening. I hope it's good news and not bad news that the sunflowers are happening on TikTok. And a train. Thank you, John. Appreciate that. So the, oh yeah, the Moskva. So that ship that the Ukrainians shot down, I guess, turned into a submarine, right? They shot their 2 Neptune cruise missiles at it, sunk the thing, freaked out the Russians. The Russians are now finally fessing up that there were casualties. They're claiming 1 sailor died and 27 are missing of the 510 or so crew. That's it. Now, bull, there's no way. From the experts I've chatted with, people say, sure, it looks like things didn't blow up as badly as they could have because you would have been missing half the ship. But the holes, you guys told me this, were they port holes? I believe you all told me yesterday, which are these sort of holes along the hull of the ship. You can see these burnt spots coming out of them where basically flames were pouring out from the inside of the I call it a sub, the inside of the boat, the ship, and burning the outside of the ship, showing that basically the inside, the down below of the ship was totally on fire. And that means anybody trapped down there, good luck coming out of there alive. So, the concern, I don't want to say, happy about death, but the concern, or whatever word you want to use, is that there could easily be hundreds dead and not just, one. It's absolutely ridiculous. You're doing a celebration thing there, Kid Aussie. I'm going to thank you for that anyway, but interesting timing. Okay, so that's that. All right, that's already half the news. Good. The Ukraine, good news here. Ukraine says it shot down 15 Russian aircraft, including 9 drones, 3 helicopters, and 3 airplanes in just the last day. There was a third mysterious fire. This is interesting. You guys mentioned to me, because I hadn't seen the story yesterday, that there were 2 mysterious fires in Russia yesterday. And one, now, as long as I'm not mixing them up, one was at a chemical plant and one was at some kind of defense-related plant. Well, today there was a third one. And I posted the video on TikTok. But this one today was at some kind of, sorry, my lips got all chapped. Some kind of aerospace industry plant. It's on fire, and it's really on fire. I posted the video. This might be the one that's outside of Moscow. I don't think so, though. There was one. Oh, thank you for the car. Oh, I remember this. That was a nice one. Thank you. On TikTok. There was one that was outside of Moscow. This one was the one that, if you can pull it up, I don't want you to leave me, but if you pull it up on my TikTok, you know what? I forgot to. If you pull up my TikTok, I think I said the name of the town. I don't recall now. In any case, it's an aerospace plant. It's not in Moscow, no. But I'm not sure how far east it is or anything else. Anyway, but very interesting. 3 fires at strategic locations in 2 days. I mean, it could be Russian sabotaging it. I think it's the Ukrainians. Thank you, Smiling, for that. Kind of Eastery for Easter and the glasses for Orthodox Easter. I think it's the Ukrainians. I think they're sending teams in and they're blowing stuff up, which is kind of amazing, really. I did see that tree Robitaille. I'm going to put it up just to show people, but I did see that. It was crazy. Oh, thank you. Oh, Superfast Daza just donated $100 for the cars. Thank you. Or Dazza. I'll say Dazza. Makes you sound Italian. Thank you for that. I appreciate that. So the Russians shelled another hospital. The only reason I'm mentioning it, it's in the town of Liman, which is eastern Ukraine again, that whole battle area. I mention it because they keep going after hospitals. Remember, the Russians also went after that maternity hospital, right? With the women were giving birth in Mariupol. Well, at the time, I had looked. So this is a month ago now, almost exactly a month. So I'm looking around for my dog because it's been raining today with loud thunder, and my dog, I think, is buried in the back of my dad's closet now. Absolutely freaked out. But poor Sasha. But I looked at an article from a month ago, from like March 24th, so literally a month ago, said that the World Health Organization from the UN said that Russia had already hit 64 hospitals. And this was within the first month. We're now at the end of 2 months, because around the 27th, I think, more or less is when it started. We're at the 22nd. After just the first month, they hit 64 hospitals. So imagine where they are now. So this hospital being hit is important because it's part of this ongoing trend of them bombing hospitals. I mean, it's just abominable, but you know that. The German chancellor, well, okay, Germany did something good. Let me give the Germany good thing before we criticize Germany. We've been a little upset with Germany lately, but the Germans have done a good thing. They agreed to a swap that will let Slovenia send tanks over to Ukraine. And basically, these were those T-72 tanks that, the Soviet tanks that we wanted to get over there. Thank you for that, Brenda. That's pretty. I don't know if I've seen that one before. Maybe I have. The air balloons. That's pretty, though. Thank you. What Germany has agreed to do, and Sergeant Kabuto, thank you for that. What Germany has agreed to do is they are going to give tanks, their own tanks, 2 different kinds, to Slovenia to make up for Slovenia giving its T-72 Soviet tanks to Ukraine. So that's great. And actually, to Germany's credit, they're facilitating the transfer of tanks, which is great. Now, what's interesting about this, and this is where you're getting this little bit of a back and forth with Germany's policy that's getting a little confusing, is the Chancellor, Scholz, who I'm comparing to Hogan's Heroes. You Americans get it. I know nothing. He did an interview and he talked again. Thank you for that. I think that was the Shine, or I don't know which one. You're sending so much stuff on TikTok. Whoever sent the ornaments, thank you. Scholz did an interview and he talked again about nuclear war and World War III. And I have criticized Joe Biden for this a lot. So far be it for me to only criticize the Germans. I think it was bad when Biden said it. But he did the old, we got to be careful what we send Ukraine. If we support them too much, who knows what Putin will do? It'll be World War III. It'll be nuclear war. We'll all die. And, as I've said before, that's a really nice way to empower Putin. It's a real nice way to tell Putin, we're afraid of you and we don't know what you're going to, and we're so afraid of what you're going to do that we're not going to do everything we want to do. And unsaid in this is, if you act even crazier, we'll do even less to help Ukraine, because then we'll really be afraid of you, right? So you're telling Putin, it's like having a bad kid or something, you're reinforcing the bad behavior, going, if you do that, then I'm giving you more cake. So the kid goes, okay, I'll do that. So yeah, not a good idea. It's just not a good idea. But what is interesting is, at the same time, then, as this quote comes out, Germany is facilitating Slovenia giving tanks to Ukraine, because one of the things Scholz literally said was, well, if we give tanks, who knows how, thank you for that, smiling. If we give tanks, who knows how Putin will perceive that? Will Putin perceive it as an act of war and take it out on Germany? So he literally mentioned tanks as being the thing he didn't want to give, and Germany's helping Slovenia give tanks. So I know you are seeing this sort of 2 schools of thought. Oh, that's kind of cool. At least the robot that turned into a dessert with a umbrella. You're seeing 2 schools of thought in Germany, and they're kind of colliding. Thank you for the fireworks too. So that's what we're seeing. At least there's enough pressure that is pushing, for example, this deal with the tanks, which is great, and I'm glad to see that. I've got a few more stories, but let me jump to Ginger, since she threw something up here in the questions. If it's found Ukraine played a role in the fire in Russia, what do you think the world's response will be? Well, I don't know if the world won't have any response. The world is going to say it was a legitimate target, right? The problem is, I think NATO, I think the U.S. in particular, has been a little freaked out. Oh, that's a cool Ferris wheel. I don't know if I've seen that one before, Brenda. Thank you. Oh, that's a very cool one. Sorry, I've got to thank the TikTok people when they throw up the funny stuff. It's very cool stuff. And the ornaments. Thank you. They're also donations when they do it, but it's also very cool. So I like to try to thank folks, just like I thank you guys for the super chats and the super stickers. I try. The U.S. has been worried about the Ukrainians hitting inside Russia. They're afraid Russia will use it as justification for I don't know what, right? I think part of it is, since we're helping provide, and I see your question, Andrew, we'll get to it in a sec, that we're afraid of the Russians seeing it as, thank you for that, also maybe, that the Russians will use it as a justification to say, oh my God, you attacked us and you used American weapons, so we're going to attack America, blah, blah, blah. Clearly, now I will say this may be the reason Ukraine isn't quite taking credit for this stuff. Thank you, Pamela. That's one of my favorites. That and the sorting hat, as I call it, the Harry Potter hat. I think I think Ginger, I'll call you Ginge, is that this is one of the reasons you see Ukraine not quite taking credit for these things, like when the oil refinery blew up or the ammo dump inside Russia, how they kind of, even the submarine, they were kind of like, oh, I don't know, it blew, it's on the bottom of the sea, it sank. Zelensky sort of, he goes, what happened to the sub? He goes, it sank. It's like, I think they're trying to play a little bit coy so that, I don't know. I mean, to me, it's kind of silly because we know the Ukrainians are doing all of this, but for some reason, it could embarrass the Russians to such a degree that maybe they'd feel like they had to use even bigger, nastier weapons. I don't know. But I don't think the world's getting much of a response. Privately, the U.S. may tell the Ukrainians and say, could you stop doing this stuff abroad? It's freaking us out. I hope not. Nicola, thank you for the super sticker. Let me pull up Andrew's either question or comment maybe. I think Putin is dying. He knows it, and he thought he could secure his legacy and restored Russian greatness by putting Russian empire back together. Entirely possible. I mean, at the very least, Putin's getting older. He doesn't look great, right? And he was always Mr. Virile, like he'd like to be Mr. Shirt Off. Remember that whole thing? And he's clearly not as well. Face is swollen. I was joking about it on TikTok, but he was holding the table the other day in the meeting with the foreign minister, whoever he was. Thank you for the origami, by the way, on TikTok. And he's holding the table with his right hand, but he's kind of holding it like this. And the left hand's moving, but the right hand isn't. You also notice when he comes walking into the room, thank you for that, either J.O. Warren or I.O. Warren, and Smelling's free, thank you. You notice when some of the videos we see him walking, the right arm isn't moving and the left arm is, I think it's the right arm not moving, the left arm swinging. I think that's what it is. But it looks like one of his arms is having problems. Now, what it can be too is, what do you call it? The Parkinson's or whatever. I don't know if it's shaking and he's trying to hold it steady, but very suspicious behavior. So yeah, he could be dying and he's trying to ensconce his legacy. Also, he could just be a man who's getting older. He's a 70-year-old man. He's been in power for 20 years. He knows, time is catching up with him and he wants to be able to cement his legacy. And the way he wanted to do it was something grand, like, starting to reconstitute the Soviet Union. I mean, I think absolutely could be not doing well health-wise, and it could just be, this is his midlife crisis at age 7. I think he's 70, isn't he? Probably 69, 70, I think. This is his little midlife crisis. And, some men get red Corvettes, and he's getting a, yellow and blue country. At least he's trying to, right? Some of the other news. So Germany, some good stuff, though, for Germany. So thank you, Germany. Let me see here. Oh, this is good, too, actually. Okay, this is a little weird. Boris Johnson, God bless Boris Johnson, right? Because in England, apparently, they don't sell combs. Thank you for that on TikTok. So Boris Johnson does an interview like yesterday or today, whatever time it was in England, and says, well, Russia could win this war. And everyone's going, okay, first of all, obviously Russia could win this war, right? I mean, we know Russia could win it. So why the hell would you say it? By saying it, you just make it sound like you're purposefully signaling to people that Ukraine's losing. It just, diplomatically, it's a weird thing to do. Well, then he comes out and says, and to me, this is a total response. Thank you for the little galaxy there. This is a total response to the brouhaha over him making the idiotic comment about Russia can win. Johnson told reporters in New Delhi that his government is considering sending tanks to Poland so that Warsaw can then send its own Ukrainian forces, can send its own tanks, probably Soviet tanks, again, the T-72s, to Ukraine. So Britain would send tanks to Warsaw. Warsaw would then be able to use its tanks to send to Ukraine, so it would still have tanks to protect itself. Now, that'd be amazing. Little weird, the word considering. Why would you, this is part of that. Why are they announcing things? Why would you announce that you're considering? Do it, Yoda. Don't consider. Yoda did it better than me, but you get the idea. Like, considering. Why even say that? I just, because also politically you set yourselves up. Again, we got pissed at the Germans for this, right? Thank you for that, Pamela. Remember, we got ticked at the Germans for talking about sending tanks. And then finally, the chancellor said no. And people were saying, well, he didn't say he was going to. He said he was considering it. Once you put it out there publicly, you're only causing trouble for yourselves, because then when you say no, you got to explain why you didn't want to help. And now if Johnson says no on the tanks, it's going to be, so you were considering it, but then you thought you just didn't want to help Ukraine. It just, politically, it's a dumb idea. You tend not to float things that you're not sure about doing if it's going to blow up in your face if you don't do it. Because then not doing it becomes a political statement in essence. If nobody knew you were going to do it, no problem. Anything else? Okay, a couple of literally 2 or 3 other stories, and then we're done. And then we'll jump to the questions. So I'm thirsty today. Oh, these drones. So the drones the U.S. is sending. All right, Dotsa, I see your question. I'll get to it next. These drones the U.S. is sending, I think it's like several hundred maybe of these, or 100 at least, of these ghost drones, right? And they were these drones, somebody corrected me and you were right, that were prepared for another scenario that is very much like Ukraine. So the U.S. is redirecting the drones to Ukraine. What's interesting is the regular kamikaze, these are, I believe, another variety of kamikaze drones, meaning drones that you go up and you use them to just attack. They go in and they crash into either a person or a vehicle, as much as a tank, even depending on the payload of the, of the drone, depending on the weapons that are in there, the bomb size. But usually these drones go up for 20 minutes or an hour max. They don't go for much more than that. They could, so the smallest drone literally is like 20 minutes and then it's got to crash into something. So you better be sure what you're going after. This thing can fly for 6 hours, which is astounding, especially when you think the other ones are a couple. So you could literally be flying this drone. Well, first of all, because you think the Russians are in the area, although you might not want to waste it for that. But if you know, you can find one target and say, okay, we know where that target is. Let's keep it in mind. Let's go look for other targets. And basically, maybe you find a personnel carrier and you go, okay, let's look around. And then you find a tank and you go, oh, much better than the personnel carrier, right? Or we get a recording that we've got a general we can hit, right? So more time just means more time to find better targets. So really cool. This thing can go for 6 hours. Oh, and it's got night vision, infrared. So it can find things at night. One of the things I mentioned to you before that the Ukrainians were doing is, thank you for the exploding, I think it's Mindy, the exploding birthday things. One of the things Ukrainians were doing very smartly with their drones, they were getting decently expensive drones. I mean, some of them they were showing me were like $7,000 drones in the US, 10,000 abroad, but 7,000 here on Amazon. So they are not cheap little drones. These are just the reconnaissance drones, but they get the ones that have thermal imaging. And the Russians, because again, the supplies and everything are so bad that they're at night, these guys are sleeping in their tanks and their vehicles and leaving the engine on to keep them warm because it's been winter there in Ukraine, or only getting a little better now. Thank you for that, Ashley. So that what happens at night, cold weather, tank engines running all night, that tank is lit up like a supernova to a thermal imaging camera. And that's how they're finding these vehicles at night when they're, buried in the forest, under a tree canopy, under bushes, and it's giving out this heat signal that's letting them blow it up. So very interesting. 3 more things. Actually, I've got a funny story at the end. At least 17 foreign countries have reopened their embassies in Kyiv, along with Spanish embassy today. The U.S. was asked if we were going to open, and we said, no, not safe enough. I think I get it, but that makes us look very bad. But I get it. And actually, that's some repercussion from the whole Benghazi thing. I guarantee you that the administration is like, oh, we don't need another Benghazi. But the problem is, that's how those kind of probes can affect policy going forward. Now we're afraid to do what's right, I would argue. I don't think I criticize us for that. French election poll, very good French election poll out today, showing that on Sunday there's the runoff election. President Macron, the incumbent, who's normal. Some people don't like him, but he's normal, middle of the road kind of guy, versus Marine Le Pen, far right fascist party. Her father, truly a racist fascist pig, and she's slightly less of a racist fascist pig. And the party's slightly less racist fascist piggish than it was when the father was there. But these are horrible people. The poll is showing that Macron now has 57% of the vote going into Sunday's election in 2 days, and Le Pen has 43%. So 43 to 57, 14-point spread. That's huge. The best part, I don't have it in front of me, but I did put it on TikTok. The best part is you see over the last couple of weeks, let's say Macron's on top. You see them getting more like this, where they're getting a little too close, like 10 points apart or less. And now you see it getting further apart again. Going into the last week of the election, having it doing this is very good news, because it means, in the aggregate, probably people are going more for him and less for her. If you're her and you're looking for an upset, you want the momentum to be closing in like this so that maybe you have a chance of getting him. Doesn't mean she's going to lose, but good news. The final thing, this story can't be verified. It was from a publication that some of the folks I follow say sometimes get stories right, sometimes they get them wrong. Thank you for that, Kanowski. That's good. I like that. Thank you. More water. I may have to run and get more water a sec. I like this mug for my sister, but it's smaller than my Mongo Scotland mug or whatever. Listen to this, and then we'll do questions. A Russian soldier from Krasnodar reportedly lost his phone. Some Ukrainians found it, opened it up, found his bank account, and withdrew his 2.5 million ruble life savings, and now they've got it. 2.5 million rubles is $35,000 at today's exchange rate, but you've got to understand this is a country in which the average person makes $6,000 a year. So $35,000 is, right, well, what is it? Oh, 6,000 a year. Yeah, so 6 or 5, 6 times 6, that's 6 years of income, which is a lot. So I say funny. I mean, it's not nice, but then again, he is there to kill, to violate women and kill children. So I'm not feeling terribly sorry for the guy. But okay, that's it for stories today. I'll just start doing these. Hold on, oh yeah, sorry, super fast. Sorry, Datsa Mia, I didn't do your question. Why is everyone telling the Russians what they are doing? Oh, right. Why doesn't Slovenia just supply the tanks on the quiet? I don't know. Or announce it. Why not just say Ukraine are buying tanks? There has to be a reason. The EU announced yesterday, I forgot exactly what it was, but the EU announced something yesterday about it was going to send, I think, like hard military, or use some phrase meaning like some really good equipment. And the statement said something to the effect of, and that is the extent of our statement, and we will not be speaking further about weapons we are sending. And they were like, boom, that's it. And I think that's great. I mean, to some degree, I want to know our governments are helping, but I think just having the government say we're helping and having Ukraine with each shipment go, that was a great shipment, thank you, or we're starting to get what we need. Or frankly, Ukraine could still say, we still need more, blah, blah, blah. Because the thing is, Ukraine, thank you for that, Cliff. Ukraine may need to say it because they need us to put pressures on our governments. Like Germany right now. Germany's getting a lot of pressure. They're doing some good stuff, but they're getting pressure for not doing some of it and for holding back some of the weapons, right? So, and our government too. The whole MiG fighter jet thing with Poland was ridiculous. Well, us putting pressure on our government matters in a democracy. It helps. So the only way we can put pressure is if we have some idea, at least, of what's not going. So maybe not telling them what is going, but occasionally, Ukraine, for example, saying there was a deal to get MiGs and now the United States killed it. Why did they do that or something, right? Thank you for the glasses. So I think that kind of stuff, as you said, there has to be a reason. You should have a reason that you're going public or a reason for not going public. You don't just go public. So yes, I think countries announcing this stuff, all I can think of is now the West got so much. Thank you for that, Pamela. That is what I do like that one. The West has gotten so much guff from its own public because we've all been so upset at our governments for, even though we've given a lot, not giving like the heavy stuff Ukraine needed, our governments may feel under pressure now to basically announce what they're giving so that the citizens, just like I did today, we go, okay, Germany, that's good. You're helping with the tanks. Finally, good for you. Like they've gotten so much trouble that they almost need to announce what they're doing so we can forgive them. That may be it. But nonetheless, yeah, I wish it were a little more quiet. I'm with you on that. Just look here. Did I miss anything on? Let me know if I missed anything on YouTube. Otherwise, I'm jumping to TikTok. I see the dog running around. Thank you. TikTok. Octoctic, cute. And your theories on the mystery fires in Russia. I mean, there's been 3 fires now. I think they're sabotage. I think they're sabotaged by Ukrainians. I mean, I think we were talking about this yesterday when it was only 2 fires, and I was saying, Occam's razor, which is the idea that the simplest explanation is usually the one that's true. That you shouldn't, or on Grey's Anatomy, what was it? Don't look for unicorns. If you see a horse, don't look for zebras. If you see a horse, don't try to make it a zebra. Don't try to make a diagnosis more complicated than it needs to be. That's Occam's razor. And when you're dealing with Russia, 3 fires going off at strategic places in one day, you kind of have to think somebody's responsible for it, not that it's an accident. Just like those 2 oligarchs getting killed. 2 oligarchs and the families get killed in a week. Oh, and I saw today, the oligarchs, the big Russian businessmen, were former executives of like the same gas company, the gas or oil company in Russia, Gazprom or whatever. So, I mean, clearly somebody killed them. This was not in Spain. In Spain, the police are saying it looks like suicide, murder-suicide. Please, 2 of these guys in a week. So no, I think it's the Ukrainians. They're doing some kind of amazing secret job and they're blowing these factories up, which is just evil and vicious. And they probably, these Ukrainians, they probably got like a little Corvette or something, and they're cruising across Russia having a field day. That's my guess. But yeah, it's got to be the Ukrainians. Or as I said on TikTok, I'm not saying it's aliens, but, let's see. If you could say it would stop the negotiations Russia holds. Oh, that's interesting. So Michaela Midon says, did you guys see the Ukrainians saying that they would stop negotiations with Russia if Russia held a referendum in Kherson? That's interesting. I didn't hear that, but makes sense. I mean, the Russians have been talking about holding a referendum in the occupied town of Kherson, southern-ish Ukraine, and basically a referendum to, I believe the referendum is to, make it part of Russia or whatever. And they want to do the same thing in eastern Ukraine if they can achieve a victory of occupying those territories. And a good point, actually, somebody asked if it's British, who knows? Maybe it is British spies or somebody else helping them blow up the plants. You never know, right? Israeli even. I mean, who knows, right? In Russia. Yeah, I would imagine if Russia holds those referendums, it's not like the peace talks are going anywhere anyway right now. But if Russia starts holding referendums claiming Ukrainian land, if I were Ukrainian right now, the thing is, Ukraine has to worry about its citizens, and its citizens are dying, and I get that. At the same time, sometimes there's a time for fighting. This seems to be it. And Ukrainian citizens, from what I've been seeing in the news the last couple of days, they're actually getting even more pissed off at the Russians. And even though there was basically a much lower percentage of Ukrainians are now willing to basically negotiate with the Russians and give them land or do some kind of a compromise than they were before. They weren't thrilled about it before. Now they're even less thrilled. So if anything, all the carnage the Russians are doing isn't making Ukrainians more likely to say, oh my God, I'm tired of the violence. Let's stop. They're basically saying, screw you, Russia. So very interesting. Tribal Flute. Thank you for that. All right, let me jump to another. Oh, okay. Yeah. Let me see if I missed somebody's question. Please put it on again on TikTok. Oh, let me see here. Sorry, 1 second here. Okay, I was just looking. Okay, just looking. All right, TikTok again. Interesting. So Saab is asking about, I guess, the possibility of Russia attacking Moldova. So I am not the expert on Moldova, but I've been reading up on it because you have to with everything going on right now. And, Moldova, another country, southwest Ukraine. So you go across the border and there's this little country like this of Moldova. Russians causing hell there for decades. The Russians are occupying a conflicted segment, but whatever, a segment called Transnistria. And at the same time, the Russians have been talking about taking over Odessa, which is, again, Ukraine, the water, the west side of the water. Again, it may be opposite on one of your maps. The west side of the water boundary is Odessa, and then you're going to see Transnistria be a little bit further west, Moldova and Transnistria. Well, the Russians have been kind of hinting that they don't just want Odessa. Maybe they'll even try to take Transnistria. It gets to that more general issue, which I talked about earlier, of how many fronts can Russia fight in this war? They lost the one in the north. Now they've got, it looks like they might even be trying to take the town of Kharkiv. They're also passing by Kharkiv and fighting further down. They're also coming from the east. That's three fronts right there potentially. They're coming up from the south. That's 4 fronts. And they're still fighting, villages and cities further west where like Kherson is, Mykolaiv, which, they're still trying to get, and Odessa, which could be a 5th front. It's idiotic if they try to go after Moldova too. It's just idiotic. You can't fight this many places. That doesn't mean they won't be idiotic and do it, because they may, but it seems really freaking stupid, But again, this is the Russians. So Tribal Flute, thank you for the super sticker. And I do see another, there it is, Brian. I knew there was a question floating in there. Brian, Frank, I was going to say Franklin. You must get that all the time. Frankian. Wow. That is funny. Franklin. Oh boy. The rest of your life, you're going to be Franklin. I know. Although that'd be kind of a cool name, Franklin. Thoughts on the West making the weapon shipments public by design in order to send a message to Russia? Sure. Absolutely. That the reason we're saying it publicly is to send a message. As the other person said, and I would agree, typically there's some reason you're doing it. government wouldn't just announce it publicly for no reason. I mean, a sophisticated government. So I would think the U.S., Western European government, or Western European, they've already got me into the Soviet mindset again. I'm thinking Eastern and Western Europe, but European governments, things like that, they're announcing it for a reason. I hope it's putting pressure on it. Maybe not putting pressure on Putin. My guess is maybe we're doing it to put pressure on anybody who can pressure Putin, whether it's the oligarchs, whether it's the secret, the spy services who have a lot of power in Russia, whether it's the military folks. But they're rationally looking at this and going, we're getting our butt kicked. And they know what we know, which is, in Eastern Ukraine, it's a toss-up. Either side could win, but it's not clear at all that Russia's going to win in Eastern Ukraine. And if we're sending more tanks, if we're sending more artillery, if we're sending more suicide drones, these kamikaze drones, that's fabulous for Ukraine. And it's going to freak the generals and the intelligence people out. Every time they see a new shipment coming like that, they're going to go, F. So I would not be surprised that could be it, that we're basically playing a psychological game with not Putin because he may not care, but with everybody else. Could be. Let me see here. Cat. Question from Eliards. Okay, thank you. I didn't know. Thank you. You're donating anyway. I appreciate that. Eliards, opinions on the disinfo wars. A lot of people here in Latin America seem to support the war and even paint the USA as the bad guys. They support the war. You mean they support Russia? Oh my God. That's really bad. Wow. I mean, I could certainly see in Latin America how, there's a pre-existing conception of Americans as imperialists, of course, right? That's going to be a perception a lot of folks have. That's understandable. But looking at this and seeing Russia as the good guys and Ukraine, and the USA and via us, Ukraine is the bad guys. Wow. That's very bad. Now, the only question would be, I guess I'd be curious where, okay, Venezuela, Cuba, sure. El Salvador, he's a total pain in the. That guy, I think, is insane. So he could easily be a trouble on this. Beyond that, I'd be really curious. Well, Brazil too, though. He's could be kind of an idiot too. So he could be putting stuff against us just to hurt us. Who cares about Ukraine in his case? Wow, that's really screwed up. Wow. No, that troubles me a lot. Yeah. Because it's not just, it's not as if Latin America has tons of weapons to give Ukraine, but it's more a matter of the moral support, maybe some financial support at the United Nations. Who knows? That's really troublesome. Wow. Yeah, I just figured it was like kind of the crazy countries that either weren't getting information or their governments were supporting Russia, but that the people were like Russia. But Latin America, dear Lord, unless you're the Zapatistas, unless you're like the Sandinistas, why would you have a good impression of Russia? Wow. Okay, that's scary. Wow. Wendy Hendy. Did you see the Ukrainian videos trolling Russia with some of Zelensky's comedic folks and other famous Ukrainians? No. Couldn't listen yesterday. Also ordered a tin of Garrett's to enjoy during updates. There you go. Yeah, Garrett's I love. That was the popcorn from Chicago. That's very good. But a Ukrainian video trolling Russia with some of Zelensky's comedic and other famous Ukrainians. No. I'm going to write that down, but I had no idea. No. Video comedy. Huh. No idea. Hate to say sorry I haven't, but that's, I guess if anybody, if at least on YouTube, if you can find a link, if there's anything that's translated, put it in the comments. If the comments will let you. I think it lets you. Oh, sorry. Got several of you popped in while I had the other screen pulled up. Hang on. I see you, Pavlo. Oh, maybe it's just Pavlo we've got. Okay, I'm just double checking here. Oh, two from Pavlo. Oh no, I'm getting so confused here. Unless that was the one from Pavlo. Hold on. Okay, I'm getting totally confused here, Pavlo. Hang on a second. Oh, it is the same one. Okay, I had saved your comment and then was looking through something else to make sure I didn't leave it. Bob, I always love saying your name. Pablo Androshik. Love the cup. I know. That's for my sister. Gift for my sister. As she said, it's on both sides. So that way when I'm drinking it, it was showing it for you guys as well. Keep what you're doing. My grandmother in New York now gets her news on Ukraine from my lives. Oh, Ukrainian grandmother, I'm assuming. I've got to learn. I speak some Russian. but I don't know Ukrainian other than I can say privut or privut, I think. See, I know privyet, of course, or zdravstvuyte, which of course you guys don't say either in Ukrainian. So I feel bad now because I know like a lot of little Russian things I could say. But anyway, hi babushka in New York. Nice to see you. Hope your family's well. That's cute. Thank you, Pablo. That's very sweet. All right. If I didn't miss anybody, let me jump back to YouTube. Sorry. Hello, you. Didn't mean to put you up there. Let me go back to TikTok and grab a question. Typically, actually, we're going pretty fast today. Typically, I'll go to at least quarter after, so we got another 25 minutes of questions. I'm warning you, I am going to get more water because I'm almost out. All right. I did see that the UN Defense Secretary or the UN Secretary General is meeting with Putin in a week. Yeah, I saw that, Ashley. I don't think it matters. I mean, why not? I don't think it matters. I mean, Putin's not going to change his mind, but why not? I didn't mention it just because it's one of those things where I feel like, Putin doesn't care. We don't know of any, excuse me, this is interesting. BMA Dashel, not sure how you pronounce it, Madashel, is asking about Russian attacks on NATO or U.S. weapons shipments. The only one that might have happened, but again, no one's saying it happened, was a couple days ago. The Russians claiming, I guess, they shot down a Ukrainian weapons shipment coming in. Hello, you. Oh, my God. How you doing? Oh, my little scaredy cat is back. Oh, my God. Are you okay? Sorry, folks, but she's been hiding in Dad's closet for a few hours now. Good girl. Yeah? And she just jumped. She's been terrified. We had a big thunderstorms. And Chicago, you get very big thunderstorms. And the funny part is I love thunderstorms. Freaks the hell out of her. So my poor dog, what? Mom's got food for you. Go on in. Mom's got food. She's wagging her tail now. Good. She's feeling better. The storms finally stopped, but I had like, Mom's go on in. Jesus. The problem is, of course, she has no idea what I'm telling her when I'm saying Mom's got food for you. She's like, whatever that means. In any case, yes, I'm feeling better that she's feeling better. At least that's good. So what happened was the Russians had claimed that they had hit like a plane coming in from the southeast or somewhere. Everyone was saying that there were no Ukrainian planes coming in at that time, but there was some evidence that maybe a Turkish plane was coming in, or with supplies from NATO or something else. So the question then became, did Russia shoot down a NATO shipment of goods or something, a NATO plane? And then the whole story disappeared, which I thought was interesting too, because it came like, okay. First of all, if Russia were to do it, I could see a situation where NATO was kind of like, let's tell them privately, you better not do it again, but let's not say it publicly so that the public isn't then demanding Russia's head, right? Possible, but we don't know beyond that. That's all we know as far as that happening. Daniel. And then in a minute, like I said, I'm going to fill my cup with water. Although if I do too much water, then I'm going to be up all night. Daniel O'Neill. Daniel, thank you so much. You're always very kind to do this with your regular questions. Regarding the murder-suicide oligarchs and their families, these are the ones we talked about earlier today, where we said the two rich Russian, adjusting my TikTok, the rich Russian billionaire, two different Russian billionaires, and at least the family of one were killed this week, both from the oil industry, very suspicious. So Daniel says, regarding the murder-suicide oligarchs and their families, I assumed it was the Russians themselves who killed them. I would think so. It's hardly the Ukrainians operating in Spain taking out Russians. I don't think so. Very Mossad style of so. I agree. Meaning it would be very typical. That would be like if Ukrainians did it, that would be like an Israeli level operation. I mean, whatever you think of the Israelis, they're very good at these kind of secret operations, right? I have to believe it's the Russians, because also these guys were retired. So I'm kind of thinking, why do Ukrainians care about retired Russian oligarchs? Putin cares about them. I mean, if I were Putin, I think I mentioned this the other day. If I were Putin, think about it. You've got one oligarch who already spoke up the other day. What's his name? Tovnik or something like that. The guy who looked like a hippie with his like bleached blonde California hair. And it was, well, kind of like a dirty hippie, literally. But he kind of spoke out against the war and said 90% of the people hate this and blah, blah, blah. you wonder if that promoted Putin to say, okay, pick 2 lower level oligarchs and kill them and their families, and make sure every other oligarch knows I did it. So now no other oligarch is going to dare speak out. That's my suspicion of what happened. I think so. But it is very Mossad style, which makes me think it's very KGB style. That's my guess. And I see our Ukrainians are busy chatting amongst themselves on YouTube. I always love that. Scott, I have a Russian expression for you. Scott says, sorry, I'm late. I have a Russian expression for you, but I don't know if the Ukrainians say it. But in Russian, the expression is "Luche pozdno, чем никогда," which is better late than never. And it's one of the only dialogue phrases I remember from my first year Russian in college, but it was great. Long story, very short. I went to the Soviet Union in early 1984 of all times when I was studying in France, go for like a 10-day trip, scary as hell, total dictatorship, really freaky. And I'm on a French trip because I'm studying in France. So it is literally a group of like 9 Americans and 1 French man or woman. The guide is speaking French because they picked a French-speaking guide because we were a French tour group, but we're a French tour group of 9 Americans who all speak French. So the guide, who of course is tied in with all the Secret Service and everything. I mean, this is the Soviet Union. Your guide isn't just a guide, So she's already a little freaked out that we're all these Americans, but you speak French. And she's like, okay. And her English was okay, but not great. So she preferred French. Well, then we get to towards the end of the trip, and I was always late coming down to the bus. I'm just Mr. Late. So the bus is waiting for us to go somewhere. I come down, and she kind of looks at, and everyone's in their seat, and she looks at me kind of in the doorway, kind of like this. And the bus driver is some big, overweight Soviet guy looking like like an oil, gasoline station guy. I come on, and she kind of gives me a look, and I said, mind you, we'd only been speaking French the whole trip. And I turned to her, and I said, "Luche pozdno, чем никогда." Better late than never. The bus driver starts laughing. She looks at me, and literally her face drops, and she goes, "You never told me you spoke Russian." And I was like, "Немного." Like, not much. Anyway, it was funny. It made me laugh. I didn't want to suck into my time here with you guys to tell you, but anyway, it was one of those fun moments in dictatorship with John. So anyway, Scott, Russia threatens NATO shipments. Does an attack on a convoy trigger Article 5? Yes. It depends. Who's running the convoy? Is it NATO vehicles and NATO personnel? Then it would be an attack on NATO. Yeah. I mean, even for example, if NATO moved tanks into Western Ukraine, Russia attacks those tanks. It's an attack on NATO. So it would depend, in my view, it would depend whose vehicles these are. Again, is it coming in by plane? Is it coming in by truck? Is it coming in by train? And then are there any of our personnel? Because, for example, my guess is everything else gets transferred at the border. So anything coming in by land comes by truck or train or whatever, and then at the Polish border gets handed off to Ukrainians. I've even heard it described this way, that the Ukrainians then take over and they're very efficient at getting things around their own country. So at that point, there's a handoff. We're not touching it. It's goods that we've given them, but you blow up American gifts. That's not an attack on America. You blow up an American train, or Polish train, a Polish official vehicle, a Pole himself, that's an attack. Yes, trigger Article 5. So I think it's going to depend on what they do. And again, I think Russia is going to be way more careful than our governments realize, because Russia knows they're having a really hard time winning one war against Ukraine. They're not going to win a war against NATO. They're not. I mean, they should be terrified of a war with NATO, and I guarantee you they are. So I think they're going to be, even though they're threatening, this is more of that bluster BS. Having said that, you get into Boris Johnson's comments, you get into especially Chancellor, Cole. I'm getting thrown back to 30 years ago. Chancellor Scholz's comments today about how, we don't want nuclear war and blah, blah, blah. And it just depends how much Russia thinks the West is scared of him and scared of him escalating, so that even Russia itself blows up one of these things just to say, we told you, and the next time it's going to be even bigger, so that our governments freak out and go, oh my God, he blew up one of our shipments. In other words, that we don't react to him blowing up the shipment by going, okay, that's it. You do this again and we're at war. We do it by going, oh my God, we're so sorry. We didn't want to start nuclear war. That's how it's a very funny game of who's threatening whom with the nuclear war thing. He should be just as afraid of us because nobody wins a nuclear war, yet we've kind of pandered to him on this. So that's my take. Boom, TikTok. Let's go to your questions. Remember, folks, on TikTok, you can submit your questions via the Q&A button on the bottom. But be aware, it's not telling me how many, but there are usually we've got like 80 to 150 questions on TikTok alone, so I can never get to all of them. I apologize, but there's just no way. Oh God, I would never run for office. Would I run for president? Oh God, no. I'm too honest for politics in the sense that, I can be kind of an ass in my honesty, and I would never want to have to be nice to everybody. I would hate it. What I enjoy in politics is just this. Like, I like helping out and being the smart guy in the background and plotting strategy, or even like the fundraising we're doing for Ukraine, trying to help out in the background to do good things or stop bad things. But I would never want to be the face that has to make everybody love each other and take all the attacks and everything. I hate that. I'd much rather be the strategy guy and be behind. I don't mind getting credit. I mean, being public in that way is nice, but not as a politician. Ugh. Zalor, the thing is, Zalor asks, don't you think it's time for NATO to act? The question becomes, NATO has acted, obviously. They've done a lot of, now things are getting better in terms of how NATO has acted. Up until about a week or so ago, I was not happy. Now, clearly, we're giving the heavy weaponry. We aren't doing, even with planes, we now supplied spare parts so that 20 Ukrainian planes have been fixed. So 20 Ukrainian planes are back in whatever, fighting ability because of us. That's huge. A couple of weeks ago, we would have said, oh, that's planes, right? That's war. Now we did it. We're now talking again about giving more tanks. That's great. We're giving a ton of artillery. France is giving more artillery. Brits, I think, are giving more artillery. The Netherlands, I think, is giving more artillery today. I saw as well. Yesterday and today I saw it. Some kind of high something artillery. So all of that is huge. And it's exactly what Ukraine needs. So I don't know. I don't know that I'm as upset now at NATO. I think now it's getting much better. So I'm going to be less critical for the moment, put it that way. Did I miss anything on? I'm watching you guys, as always, talk to each other. Famous in a few. What was going on with the advisor to the head of Zelensky? Just curious here. Just reported. Oh, from Famous in a Few. Okay, so Famous in a Few, who's one of our good little followers we like. Maybe not little, maybe big. I don't know. Just reported evidence that French company Tal contravened sanctions and sold THALES, contravened sanctions and sold weapons to Russia. Woo! Those weapons are being used by the Russian army to murder Ukrainian civilians? Oh my. And this was reported by Mikhailo Podolyak, who's an advisor to the head of the office of the president of Ukraine. Woo! Or Mikhailo. I always love how the Ukrainian names are just a little different, like Mikhail, but it's Mikhailo. They're always just a little different than what we learned for Russian names. Fascinating. Wow. A French company helped get around sanctions? That's huge. Ooh, that's really bad. Wow. Okay, here. And Pavlo's got another. Have you seen the pictures of the Russians trying to ship a faucet to Siberia? No. Likely has never seen. No, I don't know what you're talking about. Picture of the Russians trying to ship a faucet to. Oh, you mean the troops? Oh, no. You must mean the Russian troops stole a faucet from the Ukrainians and they're literally shipping a faucet back home. Likely have never seen indoor plumbing with hot water. Yeah, maybe. They're shipping a lot of weird stuff. I mean that does suggest how poor Russia really is, in these regions. I mean, we saw at the beginning the reports from Ukrainians saying that I think Russian POWs, either they intercepted the Russians talking or they talked to the POWs and they were just kind of blown over by how wealthy Ukraine is, that they were just like, holy cow. I may hold off on my water until we get to Q&A in 10 minutes, and then I'm grabbing my water, not Q&A, hangout. We hang out at the end for about 15 minutes just to chat amongst ourselves. Yeah. Oh, yes, Poppy. I talked about that earlier. Russia is claiming one person on the ship died, the boat that is now a submarine. Only one person died and 27 are missing. When in fact, it's almost a guarantee that hundreds are dead and probably as many missing. Maybe 100 survived. Who knows? But there's no way one died. Absolutely no way. Hello. Hi, where are you? Come here a second. Mom will help you. You want to come here? My dog wants to be by me now instead of going for dinner with Mom. Mom will get you dinner. Come here. Want to come up? You want to come up here? She wants to play. She wants to play. This is the dog that had real trauma today, so I do take little breaks for her because it was thundering in Chicago, which I love a thunderstorm. She hates it. Yeah, that's fun. I did not see that, but no, anyway, yeah, they were very surprised when they came into Ukraine and saw just the level of wealth. It blew them away. The streets, the homes, the stuff people have. That's why they're stealing it. But I mean, how screwed up is that, stealing this kind of stuff? Hey, no, I'm not playing with you right now. The dog wants to play ball right now. This is too funny. Let me scroll down in the questions a bit on TikTok to mix it up a little bit. What else we got here? Ukraine, I think, is being careful from bombing Russia more. First of all, because, I'm sorry, so Tally is saying, what stops Ukraine from bombing Russia more? Like, why are they doing more bombs inside Russia? I think clearly the U.S. and NATO are asking them not to, which is the one thing. So that's hold on, I want to make sure I'm not forgetting you guys here. Marion, thank you. You didn't need to do that, but thank you. You should ask, well, actually, you should weigh in. If that's my friend Marion, the Russia expert. You know probably more about the stuff than I do. But what stops Russia from bombing, what Ukraine from bombing Russia? For starters, you've got the U.S. being very afraid that if Ukraine bombs in Russia, then Russia's going to say, well, NATO, if you're giving weapons to Ukraine and they're bombing us, then you're bombing us, right? Not that there's much of a difference, because what's the difference in, bombing Russia or bombing Russian troops in Ukraine? It's the same difference, but nonetheless, the other thing is, it's not clear their ability to, because it's not clear, do they have bombers that can really go that far that wouldn't be intercepted by Russian air defenses in Russia? I mean, we're assuming the air defenses are good, but who knows now, right? With Russia, now that we've seen how bad their military is. And finally, what's the value in it? Like we assume it's Ukraine that went across the border a couple times near Kharkiv, actually in the northeast, to Belgorod. Kharkiv is literally like 10 or 20 miles from the Russian border. It's crazy how close it is, the town of Ukraine. And then another 10 or 20 miles across is this Russian town of Belgorod. Remember, the oil refinery blew up. The ammunitions depot blew up. Then a road blew up on a bridge over a train track over a bridge blew up, key for supplying the troops. And clearly it was Ukraine, but Ukraine was kind of not taking credit, not taking credit. And they can do that, but I'm not sure it's strategically necessary. That's probably part of what's going on. They're going to decide what targets they need to hit. And they're probably thinking, yeah, if we hit some, Russian town 100 miles in, if we could, it would scare the Russians, which isn't bad psychologically. But right now we're trying to stop them from taking over Eastern Ukraine. Let's have our special forces go after something closer. Again, oil depot providing fuel for tanks and trucks. Munitions, providing ammunition for weapons. That helps the war in the East. So anyway, that's my guess. They're not doing it because it's just not beneficial. But they cross the border when they're hitting something that actually helps. So there you go, Telly. Boom. Was there anything there? Or Russia sent a ship to Moscow site. I did see that. This is funny. So, well, okay. Wolfan Momo, I'm going to screw that one up, said that Russians have sent a ship, which is true, a ship to the Moscow site, the site of that ship that sank and became a submarine. I joke about the submarine. It's not a submarine. It's actually a reef at this point. And whether it could be nuclear weapons, it could be some kind of weapon they're trying to get. People think, it could be nuclear. A lot of folks, the majority don't think it's nukes, actually, but it could be nuclear. More likely, it could be hypersonic weapons. Who knows? But there's something they want to get. The other thing is the ship they sent. I was reading about it today. The ship they sent is a ship that was like commissioned in 1912 or 1914. It's literally a ship that's over 100 years old. And, there's a method to their madness, a little bit of a method to their madness, because the ship can, it's got these concentric rings that are basically made for towing a submarine once you get it out of the water. You put it on the ship in these rings and it holds it up. It's crazy, but it's a little crazy they're using a 100-year-old ship or 110-year-old ship to do this. So, but anyway, that, it may just be they want to rescue the submarine, period. It's possible. Let me see. There was another question or comment. What do we got here? Yep, all fun. I've got you. Igor, thank you. You can ask a question too, Igor, if you want to. If you meant to, feel free to put the question in there. You don't have to pay for it since you already bought a super sticker. Igor Mudri. Igor Mudri. Mudri. Interesting. If you've got one, feel free to put it in there, please. Let me just make sure I didn't forget anybody's question. Okay, I think I'm okay. Yeah, let me just see if there were any other questions you guys had on here. The mods are amazing. If Zelensky, let's see here. The Raggedy Android, that's a good name. Okay, I'll give you credit. The Raggedy Android asks on YouTube, here's a question. If Zelensky, for whatever reason, were to have to leave Ukraine, how would that affect morale? It would affect morale, I'm sure. Yeah, that's why he didn't leave. No, it would affect morale. I mean, I guess, part of the issue becomes like, why would he have to leave? I mean, the only way I could see him leaving Ukraine is literally the whole country falls. And he's going to be executed along with the whole government, and he flees at the very last minute. But that's literally them losing the entire country. That's the only way I see him fleeing. So, at that point, morale's already in trouble. What you had more interesting was at the beginning of the invasion, when the U.S. Said to Zelensky, "We'll get you out." And thank you for that. Is that Dumiano? I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but thank you. When the U.S. at the beginning said, "Oh, Zelensky will help you get you out," and he said, "I don't need a ride, I need weapons." Now, that would have affected morale had he just skipped the country and left. That would have been bad. But I think at this point, the only thing you see for him leaving is going to be because literally the war is over, the country's been taken over by the Russians, and there's no choice but to leave. And at that point, morale's already going to be in trouble at that point. Let me see here. Oh, okay. Thank you. Thanks, Igor. I appreciate it. No question. The 114-year-old ships to floats. I mean, somebody did a story on it today. It was very interesting. Let me, go to TikTok and find another TikTok question. You TikTokers, you amazing TikTokers. Trying to go down a little bit here. That's a really good. Kay Fuller asks about the basketball player, the U.S. basketball player, the woman. Nothing on her. We've heard nothing about her. Now, I think part of that is, I want to say the trial was either postponed or ordered for May, maybe. If somebody correct me on that, but I think it's May, May or June, which means we wouldn't hear anything for a few weeks anyway. Right now, she's dealing with her lawyers and everything else, but there's not much she can do. So that's my suspicion on that front, why you're not hearing about it. Elmo, thank you. If you had a question, feel free to put one in. Free Britney. What the hell is that about, Marion? It must have been something I said. I'm not sure what the joke is. You crazy girl, you. Let me pull up another TikTok question. God, Denise, that's one hell of a question. Denise on TikTok says, what did you do before going full-time TikTok? I linked to my LinkedIn if you go to my TikTok profile, you'll see the link that says beacons.ai or something. Click on that. It brings up one of those pages of all the different links. Scroll down and you're going to see my LinkedIn page. Everything's there, but I mean, I've been working since I left graduate school and law school in 1989. So I've been working since then. I worked on Capitol Hill. I worked at the World Bank. I worked at the United Nations. I did consulting for like 20 years, practically, internet and politics, like helping people in Washington around the world use the internet for politics, for advocacy, for marketing, a ton of different stuff. Trainings around the world for the State Department, for groups, NGOs, as non-governmental organizations, as you non-Americans call them. We call them nonprofits, to know how to use the internet. So lots of different things. I wrote for The Economist for a while as a stringer, for The Economist magazine, did a lot of TV, so, and lots of kind of for you guys, it sounds like a lot. In Washington, they go, oh yeah, that's just a typical Washington thing. You worked on the Hill, you did TV stuff, you did media, you did organizations. So, but if you want to go there and everything's there, you can see my whole background. Oh God, yes. Zelensky invited me to Ukraine to do an interview. I'd go, sure. I mean, I'd be afraid, but I'd go. The Enterpred hack. I'm not sure what that is. I know about the Russians putting up Lenin statues in Ukraine. We actually talked about that the other day. Yeah, they're putting up Lenin statues and their old Soviet banners celebrating the victory against the Nazis. It's crazy with the hammer and sickle. It's crazy stuff. And the Lenin statues are just crazy. I mean, he's the founder of the Soviet Union. I mean, not a good man. Communist in the bad way. Not that there's a totally good, but a really bad way. And they're putting up his statue. It's insane. But I'd go. I would die to interview Zelensky. And I mean, not literally, but if people said it was safe enough to go to Kyiv, I would go. I would not be thrilled about going to Kharkiv at this point, because of the bombing. But if people said Kyiv was safe, I would do it. I admit I would probably ask people first and find out how safe it is, but I would probably do it. I mean, what an opportunity, right? My God, to interview him. And again, you're seeing the foreign embassies go. If they feel safe enough, I would feel safe enough to go to Kyiv. I wouldn't bring my dog, that's for sure. Because poor Sasha. Well, clearly couldn't bring Sasha anyway because one bomb and she'd be like, I am out of this country. It's a country of thunderstorms every night. I can't even imagine how the animals deal over there. Imagine that. Yeah, I doubt that. Moscow State News declaring war on NATO. I'm sure Moscow State News is saying nasty things about NATO. That's pretty much a guarantee. If somebody wants to look it up, we've got a few people saying it, which makes me think it's trolly. No offense, guys. But we in the West don't believe those kind of things because that's just silly. It's some bullshit BS that Moscow News would say if there were such a thing as Moscow News. But I'm not really a big fan of Russian disinformation. I never believe it anyway. What other we got questions here? I don't know if the British Secret Service is, the SAS are in Ukraine. No, I wouldn't know. I mean, could be. I'd like them to be, but I don't know. The Dow, did it finally go down 1,000 points? The only thing is it's down 2%. I saw before it closed today, it was down, I don't know, 600 or 800 points, but it was only 1.8%, 2% drop. It's not that bad. I'd have to see, but my guess is people are worried about the economy. They're worried about inflation. They're worried about the war going longer. There's a lot of estimates about how the war is going to affect the world economy now. And a lot of concern about that, so that's a possibility. Okay, I didn't forget anything here, did I? I did not. Okay, good. Sorry, I was looking at your guys' questions that I had saved, but there is nothing here that I believe I missed. Good. Thank you. Famous in a few. Let me know really quick. I'll do one more question because we're already at 6:17 after. Make sure if I missed any questions on I'm not seeing Be Kind jump and raise her caps to me and say, you missed a question. So I'm going to hope I didn't miss the questions. Okay. Our Ukrainians are going to sleep or somebody is. Okay. Let me see. I'll grab one more question then from, oh no. Oh, how cute. Some Caddy says, did you see the old lady whose puppy was scared of the loud bang? So she made him doggy earmuffs. Oh my God. Oh God, that's adorable. Thanks, Treva. Well, we're gonna finish with this last question, but then we're gonna hang out another 10 minutes anyway. So then we just kind of hang out and chat. So feel free, guys, to hang on TikTok and here, and I'll still, we'll chat a little, answer some questions, but we try to sort of tone down the Ukraine stuff at that point since we're already spending all day. Egypt is sending MiGs? Get out of here. That would be amazing if they were. I'd be surprised if Egypt was sending any MiGs, but if they are, good for them. But didn't hear anything about that. Russia using chemical weapons. We haven't heard anything else on that. Sorry, nothing else on the chemical weapons thing from Russia. No updates on that. I'm just trying to do quick ones here. France's election affecting NATO, we're going to find out. Hopefully she loses. If she wins, it's bad. She's pro-Putin and she's anti-NATO. So it's not good. She wins in France, and we've got another Hungary on our hands, which is a country that's part of NATO, but, kind of in kinship with the bad guys. So very bad. If Putin got the USSR back, then we would have the Cold War for the next 50 years, except that clearly it's a country that's not doing well. So, we'd go back to the Cold War. I mean, we survived that. I'm not saying I'd like it, but we survived that. That's a question. I don't know. I don't know any more about the dead oligarchs. We talked about them. I'm suspicious. I think it sounds like Russia killed them from my point of view. Just looking for one or two more little things here. NATO entered the war militarily, not unless Russia does something incredibly stupid, but we'll see. There's another shooter in D.C. I didn't see. I'm in Chicago now, thank God, so I'm not paying attention to D.C. news. That would be bad. Hi, New Jersey. I'm late. Okay, Diana. That works too. Hi, Diana. You know what? This is funny. I looked at this today. Somebody had asked this question yesterday, and I looked and I couldn't find an answer today. I don't know if anybody else of our other experts know this. Somebody's asking, or Gamzy Mum, will Ukraine pay for the equipment or is it donated? I Googled that today because someone asked this question yesterday, and I couldn't find an answer on Google. All I was finding was articles just describing like U.S. foreign aid and how much we've given and all this kind of stuff. I couldn't find anything detailing, was it given? Was it sold? I mentioned yesterday, I have seen articles mentioning that some of these things are sales of arms to Ukraine in essence. And my suspicion is whether, it almost reminds me of all the money we gave to the Latin American governments in the, what was it, 60s, 70s, or whenever it was, but remember the huge Latin American debt crisis in the 80s. It almost makes me worry about that. Like, are we lending them money and then selling the weapons and saying, okay, now you owe us $20 billion? I don't know. Oh God, that's bad. Shooting in DC, manhunt for the shooter. Great. We had one of those years ago. A lot of crime in DC now. It's really ticking up, like a lot of local crime. Very bad. I mean, DC always was very crime-full, but it got better over the years, but it's getting very scary again. Yeah, I don't know. If anybody knows on the equipment thing, weigh in, but I've been trying to find out. I may ask a friend at the White House, although he does economic policy, but he still may be able to get me an answer because I think it's an important question. So, not to name drop that I have a friend at the White House, but la la la. I mean, when you work in DC for 30 years, you have friends at the White House, unless it's the other of the administration. Then I didn't have a lot of friends at the White House of the Trump administration. I will admit, but I do have at least one friend in this White House. So, I'm gonna call it quits on that right now. We're at 6:20. Let's hang out, guys. You know what? Okay, I'm putting my mic down. I'm getting a quick thing of water in my mug, coming back, and then we will hang out for 10 minutes and just chat amongst ourselves. Well, Sasha, Mom can feed you. Okay, I let Sasha know Mom can feed her. Here, go on in. All right, Sasha, go on eat. Go on, go. Mom, do you want to feed her, or I can feed her real quick? I'm still on my thing. Let me do my food. Except then she's coming in for food. All right, one moment, folks. There we go. All right, I fed Sasha. Of course, the danger now after I fed Sasha is that Sasha has to go to the bathroom. So I may pull the plug in 8 minutes of this so that my poor dog doesn't have to go to the bathroom and she goes on Mom's floor. Because that's always and she hasn't been out since earlier today because she was freaked out about the rain. So there we go. What else is going on? I know Mom's funny. Mom is funny. She's like, I'll feed her. The problem is Sasha, of course, was looking to me to feed her. So I figured unless I went into the kitchen, she wasn't going to go get the food. So Mom cooks it. I mean, we just cook it in the oven. I mean, lamb in for Greeks is very simple. I think from what I recall, olive oil, you chop up individual cloves of garlic. So you take individual things of garlic, and you might chop it into 3 or 4 slivers, and you make holes in the lamb. Back like garlic, I'm kind of allergic to garlic now, but I love garlic. Back when I could eat garlic, I would make I'd make 30 holes in the lamb, and you make it maybe this deep, or back various things, and you jam these little slivers into the lamb all over the lamb. So that way it's not just garlic on the lamb, it's garlic infused in the lamb. A lot of oil, I believe oregano, and not much else. We, for example, don't use all those funny spices the Americans use in their lamb. So was it thyme and not thyme, but is it thyme, or what's the other, rosemary? I've never had rosemary on a lamb. I'm sure it's good. You all like to do it, but we don't do that. I don't know. Yeah. So that's what we do. But yeah, dark chocolate, my fave. My favorite dish that only Mom can make. That's Mom's dog barking now. Now she wants to eat. She saw my dog eating. I'd have to think about that. I mean, because the only thing is I can make them now too. I've got Mom's recipes. So my food's pretty good. Like it would usually be the Greek foods, but I mean, Mom makes lamb wonderfully. So I do like Mom's lamb because it usually is sort of seasoned very well and everything. The egg sauce on the lamb, we don't use the egg sauce on the lamb. No, we would definitely make, you could, I mean, it's very good on there. Like we might use the egg lemon sauce, because the Greeks have this egg lemon soup, egg lemon soup that basically is I believe I'd read it's French actually. It's like the style of using an egg to thicken something, to thicken a broth. And because otherwise, if you put the egg in, right, you've got like Chinese soup with like cooked egg in it. This is more this very gradual process where the egg thickens it. It's very interesting with lemon, egg, and the broth, chicken broth, rice, cooked rice. Very nice, very hearty. But you can also put whole chicken in there, or whole pieces of chicken, but pieces of lamb are even better. Like cooked pieces of lamb in there. The lamb just infuses. Oh my God, that's to die for. But mom also has been teaching me, very easy recipe where you make the egg lemon sauce, but you thicken it, with flour or cornstarch or whatever. But you kind of thicken the egg lemon sauce, and you basically buy the rotisserie chicken if you want, like from Costco or somewhere else. Strip the bones or whatever. Make rice down, chicken down. Pour the egg lemon sauce on top, and it makes its own nice little dish. That's very kind of wet and warm and good. And like, I don't like rice as rice. Rice as rice, I find too dry. But with this on it, having like this egg lemon sauce, a little bit of salt. Good stuff. Good stuff. Thank you guys. Appreciate it for the happy Easter wishings. I know I wish we were having lamb, but we're not having lamb because mom couldn't find it. It was way too expensive. Mom's doggy is doing okay, Susan. Yeah, there's an easy, let me see the no knead bread recipe I gave her. I think I'm pretty sure I copied it let me just see here. No knead. I wrote next to it, like it's the one I have for mom, but I've got to see, hang on a second here. Knead. Let me just look here. Which is the one? Although, I use a bunch of them. Like I've got my own anyway. I mean, it's kind of the same difference, which one I gave mom, which one I use myself. I think the one I use is, I put mom's on it. Yeah, I don't think I can put it in the comments. I don't think it'll let me. Let me see, but this is the problem we had before where it didn't let me put a big enough comment, I think, on YouTube. Otherwise, I've got to figure out a way I was saying of sharing these things. Let me see. Actually, the ingredients are pretty, hell, I can put the ingredients here and just tell you. This is half the recipe. I know, Sash. She may have to go out, Mom. I may have to go in a second. That's the recipe. Very simple. 3 3/4 cup flour, 1.5 cups water. I've got it in grams too. Lukewarm, 100 F or so. I'll put it up here. 1 1/4 teaspoons salt, 2 1/4 teaspoons yeast. Sometimes I'll go up to 3 teaspoons yeast. You basically would I like to get a big plastic container, mix all of that together, and I kid you not, you're going to mix it for 5-10 seconds just until, okay, and she has to go out or she's wanting to play until it's a shaggy mess. Let it sit on the counter for 2 hours, cover it, let it sit on the counter for 2. I usually get like these cool big food warehouse containers that are plastic, right? Let it sit for 2 hours, then put it in the fridge at least overnight, and then it's ready to use. That is enough to make 2 small loaves. Typically, the recipe is twice that size. For mom, I make it small, and you would, the next day you want to make some bread, take half of it out, take it out, and just form it into a nice round loaf. Put it on top of however you do your bread, but make sure, spray oil or whatever to make sure it's not going to go bad. Cover it and let it rise. Let it rise an hour or two. You want it to rise decently. It's probably going to spread more than rise, but that's okay. And cook it at, let me check. I think it's 450, and then I'm going to go because my dog is whining and I don't want her to do something bad. Cook it at 450 for 25 to 35 minutes, 450 Fahrenheit. So whatever that is for you guys, 270, I don't know, whatever it is for you guys. But 450 for 25 to 35 minutes. For moms, typically 25 minutes for mom ovens, it's done. You just want it nicely brown. I mean, the inside should probably be 190 degrees Fahrenheit if you use a food thermometer because it's white bread. But honestly, you just want it nice and decently brown on the outside. Take it out, let it cool 2 hours. And the only thing is, because it's homemade bread, it might be crispy at first, but it might stop being crispy. Eventually I put it in a Ziploc bag, plastic bag, and then you lose the crispness. But if you cook it in the oven, I'll put toaster oven, it crisps up again. Very simple bread, and that dough will last you at least a week in the fridge, meaning at the end of the week, it might start not raising, like it'll get even flatter, but it'll taste better by the end of the week, which is kind of hot. So that's the dough gets tastier and tastier as the week goes on. So there you go. That's my cooking with John segment. We did lose a bunch of TikTokers though cooking. I guess they aren't as big on the cooking as we are. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off. I will say goodbye to the TikTokers first, since it takes a bit for the feed to catch up with you. You guys are a little behind. So as soon as I see you all start saying goodbye, I'll know it's safe for me to hang up. And the YouTubers as well. I mean, YouTubers and Facebookers. We will do tomorrow. Let's do tomorrow. We're not doing Sunday because of Easter. We can check in tomorrow. We'll keep it relatively short. Maybe we won't do a hangout afterwards. Let's keep it relatively short, and we can stick to our usual time-ish. I'm thinking here. We can stick to our usual time. Let's shoot for 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern, because that's pretty much what we were doing back home. And that's what, 1 p.m., 13 plus 5, 18. That should be 1800 UTC. Anyway, it's 1 p.m. in Chicago, 2 p.m. in Washington, D.C. or New York City. So you can compare, if you're abroad, compare it to 2 p.m., 2 in the afternoon, New York City time is when we'll do it. Let's do that tomorrow, and that's perfect. And then Sunday we'll skip because I'll be with my family. So, all right, guys. Thank you, TikTokers. Signing off. And YouTubers, same thing. Yeah, try the recipe. It's fun. It's fun. And you just leave it sit in the fridge. And like I said, it will not raise much. Be aware of that. It's not going to, it's going to spread out more than it rises, but it will be a very tasty bread. And certainly right after you bake it, it'll be warm and crispy. So if you want, you're supposed to let bread sit for 2 hours. It does help for the texture. So, if you're making it for dinner, maybe have it come out of the oven at least an hour before. So at least it sets to a degree. And then you cut it up and you've got a nice warm bread with crispy crust, and just plan on eating most of it. So there. And that is my cooking tip of the day. Someday I'll have to do videos on these. I admit I will. And thank you, mods. And thank you all for all the questions on the stickers and all of that. I appreciate it. And yeah, we'll do tomorrow, 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern, right? Okay. Bye, TikTok. Or you TikTok. TikTok's already gone. Bye, YouTube.